Well, there are a couple of things that came from the UK side this week which are interesting. One, there was the release of some papers which were effectively contingency plans in the case of a hard Brexit. So what would happen to border controls, what would happen to availability of goods and so on. And that might have raised the eyebrows of some of the European negotiators. So actually, the UK is really serious about the possibility of a hard Brexit. And then the second thing that happened overnight was that Dominic Raab, who's the UK Brexit Secretary, said that the UK would ultimately pay its exit bill regardless of whether there was a trade deal. It was just a matter of the timing and the sequencing of that. And I think that was a concessionary move, at least verbally, for the Europeans to come back with something similarly warm.
Yeah, Mark, it's interesting because there has been some criticism around the government's no-deal Brexit threats. But hey, if it works, we've got to give it to Theresa May on that one. You know, I also had a chance to speak to Liam Fox, the Secretary for International Trade here in Singapore earlier this week. And we talked a little bit about what they want to achieve on trade with China post-Brexit. Of course, they can't actually do any deals until the formal Brexit process is over. But it was interesting to me that he stressed this idea of they're really looking for the services sector to open up. And the reason I think that's interesting is because at the moment, we're so focused on the goods, the tariffs slapped on goods between the U.S. and China. But really, shouldn't we be talking more about the services sector in China?
Yeah, absolutely. So the UK's economy has been driven by the services sector, both financial and non-financial services, over the last few years. And China recently, interestingly, has talked about relinquishing certain controls around foreign ownership of financial entities in China. So that might be an opening for UK financial services businesses to gain a foothold in China and partner with local players, but retaining control in terms of the proposition and the offering to prospective clients.
And as China does open up their financial sector, I just can't help but wonder whether they might say, hey, if we can't come to an agreement with the U.S. on trade specifically, one of the tools they might employ is say, we'll give more favoritism to the European companies, to the British banks that are out there. Do you think that's a risk?
Well, there's definitely this sort of toing and froing. So one minute, China's trying to partner with Europe and in order to detract attention away from the US. And the next thing, US strikes a deal, a verbal deal with Europe around steel imports and so on. So everyone seems to be trying to gain partners in crime when it comes to the negotiating table. But I think ultimately the key bilateral will be between the US and China, irrespective of the partners that they try to arrange side by side with them.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.